Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the weekly armchair kickoff and another episode of the future of football. It's been a wonderful weekend. I'm sure it has been for all of you guys. Let's go through the panel this evening. We've got two debuts this evening. We've got Naomi joining us from Denver, Colorado, 2 p.m. over there. How are you, Naomi? You good?
Doing great. How are you, Nate? Everything is good here. It's sunny. Summer. Yeah.
Lucky for you. And we've got another debut. We've got Seb joining us for the very first time. How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you. Not quite in Denver, Colorado. I'm actually in East Lancashire, not too far away from Burnley FC's Turf Moor. But I spend a lot of my time in the city centre, so touching base with the stadium. Not so long. I'm actually going to be at Old Trafford on Saturday for the grand final of the Rugby League.
Oh, very exciting stuff. And as you're probably aware, regulars to the channel and regulars to the show, we've got Mr. Cool himself, the owner of the Weekly Steel Chair. We've got Reese Russell. Reese, you're on time tonight, and I was very pleased for that. How are you, sir?
He's going to hold that against me for the rest of the show. I'll take that. I'll just start being late more then. No, I'm all right, thanks. Thanks for inviting me on the show. I'm looking forward to this, especially because you said movie buff. And, well, I am a movie man, so I'm certainly looking forward to what you've got up your sleeve. I'm interested for a good show, be a good laugh, get to talk about 10 haggis and mash. But we'll certainly see how the show goes, but I'm looking forward to it. So, nice to be amongst esteemed company.
Yeah, regulars to the show will know I do a top 10 before 10 segment. I've got a little bit of a twist on it this evening, and it is for the film movie buff in you. So we'll give that a test later on. But first of all, we're going to delve into sort of players coming managers and what makes a good player and what makes them not such a great manager. So I'm just going to chuck some names out, and we're just going to sort of run through them and sort of like they've had great careers, basically fantastic like playing careers, but you know their managerial starts haven't been that great. So I've got Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, Wayne Rooney, and I've put a question mark, but Thierry Henry, because notably the only thing he's really won is a silver medal at the Olympics. I'm going to come to you first, Reese, because you're here, and I thought, fuck it, why not? Why do you think that it is a case of great players haven't really got off to like kickstarts in their sort of managerial careers?
I think the problem nowadays is what makes a great player is a different kind of work ethic and a level of professionalism, whereas what makes a great manager is the same style of work ethic in a way, but it's more maturity on a deeper level. I also think it's somebody who's actually got a willingness to have that kind of attitude, who wants to be a successful manager. I think there's players who really do talk that talk where they say, well, I've retired after a good career and I'm going to be a good manager. And there's some that have done that in interviews where they'll say they'll be a good manager and then they've been found out within 5 minutes because they don't have it up here. And I think that's the problem, is like you need to have a certain level of professionalism, a certain level of confidence. You also need to have a certain level of ambition. And I think that's why only a select few have ever been great players and great managers. And that's what it comes to. Like, obviously, the three that you've mentioned, for example, were great players in their own right, but they were absolutely terrible managers. Whereas I look at great players that were great managers, like top of my head, like immediately Franz Beckenbauer, Carlo Ancelotti, Fabio Capello. Like they're great players turned great managers. Xavi, to be fair, great player, great manager. From what he's done so far, it can be a little bit hot and cold, but I think it has been. Jupp Heynckes, another great player, great manager. Scottish style, obviously, Alex Ferguson's another one. You've got Walter Smith, like Jock Stein, great players, great managers. England, for example, as well. I'd say Sir Bobby Robson is fantastic from the English perspective. Great player, great manager. They all had that level of ambition to stay in the game as a manager, but they also had the hunger to go and be a great manager, and they had discipline. I don't think the likes of Thierry Henry's got a good ambition, a good discipline to be a good manager. I think getting silver in the Olympics, to be fair, that's a great achievement. I won't take that from him. But club football, he flopped in France and he flopped in the States because of his name. He thought he was good enough, and he really isn't. I mean, Pep Guardiola as well, so we can't ignore him because fans will come after me saying, you didn't mention the tactical, and I was like, well, I don't care. But he's another one. Like Steven Gerrard, in his own right, was a great player. he actually done okay in Scotland. The problem for him though is it hasn't translated anywhere else, and I think it's because his discipline really didn't show. Now I don't watch the Saudi league, so I can't comment on Saudi. So there's no point. You're judging it based on his run up in Scotland, or his run in Villa, for example. It's apples and oranges in terms of contrast. Like, one was successful because he had that more element of time, but also a success driven there. But elsewhere he was found out, and it's because he didn't have the ambition to succeed in a different level. Frank Lampard, for example, is another one. Great player, great ambition. But when he got to the managerial side, it hasn't worked. Another one, to be fair, where he's massively flopped as a manager is Wayne Rooney. Great player, but he is extremely flopped. And it's because the ambition and the willingness to win and succeed as a manager. They talk a good talk, but they will never be great managers.
Yeah.
The five of them won't be great managers.
It's a shame, really, because we laud and applaud these managers for them sort of playing careers.
Absolutely.
And we don't want to see any of these sort of young managers. I mean,
no, of course not. You want to see them. You want to see them succeed because they've actually made the effort to succeed, and they've worked hard throughout their career as players. But then when they get to the managerial side, they're totally different, and they expect. And I think some of them expect it to be relatively straightforward, and it's not the case.
Yeah, they wanted it to be an easy ride. They wanted the bigger jobs, the easy jobs quickly. So you've seen like Rooney going down. I mean, they won at the weekend. Plymouth Argyle with Wayne Rooney, but he got sent off, and the only reason they won was a 97th minute winner. Naomi, I'm going to come to you. We're seeing a lot of ex-players now sort of move into like social media and media in general, sort of like with the likes of like Jamie Carragher, Thierry, and Mika Richards do the Champions League show in the States. We've a lot of like over here Talk Sport with a lot of ex-players on there. Do you think it's just like they're taking the easier route in that sense? They'll just go into that side of things because they don't really need, like, they can say their opinions without it having an effect on fans. Like, do you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah. So when Reese was still talking, I was just thinking about it like, you know, you play, you retire, and then you have to go do something. So you either become a manager or you join the media. So it's interesting that you just followed up with that question. I think it's a really interesting trend that you see more and more former players just go straight into media to just, you know, talk about a little bit also like the previous topic. It's like if you go from being a player to being a manager, like that's a whole different skill. Like you can be good at football, but being a manager, like that's a whole different skill. Like that there's different steps that when career managers become managers, they go through like smaller clubs and develop the skills. But you don't automatically get it just because you're like a star player. So same thing for media. Yeah, I think same thing for media. I follow a lot of the former players, and I think most of the times they do a good job. But as a United fan, sometimes I'll be like sitting and listening to like the major channels like Sky, ESPN or something, and they just say some out of pocket things about our players just because they can, and pisses me off. But yeah, like if it's like Roy Keane, I'll sit and listen to him for hours. Like I don't care.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're so, as United fans, we've been so spoiled with success that over the years that the media have a field day anytime we're doing bad. So I take it with a pinch of salt most of the time when it comes to United, because you know that any story surrounded around United is going to make a big media story. So what do you think with sort of that sort of aspect of it? So sort of like players going into media, it genuinely just seemed the easier route rather than having to get badges. Because I remember, I mean, I don't like him. I think he's an idiot. But Gabriel Bonahor said he's got his coaching badges, but he's got no interest in doing it. Not that you'd ever listen. If you were a player, you wouldn't listen to what Gabriel Bonahor had to say because he's an idiot. But do you see what I'm getting at? They take the easier route for the money side of it to go down that route, sort of media and punditry, because they know their opinions are just, a lot of it's bullshit and a lot of people just pay to listen to it.
Well, the thing is with punditry is that the easier route is the question. When you've been brought up in an Indian football, for example, with these guys, is it the easier option to go into the media than stay in the sport that you know? So, for example, for us, would it be the easy route for us to go to be football coaches? Because we all have our opinions on football. We all think that we know what we're talking about football. So for us, the easy route could be to go and be a football coach, whereas the difficult route could be to go into media management or anything like that. So I don't think going into the media is the easy route. I think it's a route that is offered to ex-players where when they come to the end of their careers, they will have choices. They'll be given the choice of, do you want to be put through your coaching badges either via the club or by yourself? Or would you like to, because they all do media training. We all know this. Every single player has a very media trained answer. So they're obviously very in touch with what the media is and then they might decide if they're good enough. Got a lot of players like Nigel Reo-Coker, who is over in America now, lives in New York. He does the BBC podcast. He's very good. He comes across, he's very intelligent. He, when you listen to him talk, you think, well, he'd be a good coach. And you got like Paul Robinson, who does a lot of media stuff. He does the BBC podcast. He works with Betfred and does a lot of other stuff. But he also has done coaching, and he talks about coaching in a high capacity way. And you might question, well, why have you not gone into coaching? I guess it all depends on what the individual wants to do at the end of their career, or it depends on how their career ends. It depends what opportunities are about. I don't necessarily think going into the media is the easy option, as it seems to be touted a lot of people. I think it's a good option, and I think if you can make money by talking about football, at least you're still involved in the game, because a lot of these footballers, they end their careers at 34, 35. I'm 33 now. I couldn't imagine my career coming to an end in 2 years' time. And then not knowing what's going to come next. They've got a lot of money, a lot of these Premier League stars. So then they get given opportunities left, right, and centre. I know because I've been on the other side of it, where we're offering money to come and do interviews. We're offering money to come and do podcasts. Yep. We're offering money for appearance fees or to be an ambassador for a brand.
Exactly.
And that money is not a lot of money to them in comparison to what they've been earning. So it's them investing their money in the right area. And I think coaching, I think what Reece was saying before about Wayne Rooney being a flop, I actually disagree with you. I don't think Wayne Rooney's been a flop at all.
I think he has, personally.
But I'll explain why I don't think he has. He took the opportunity to go to Derby when he was there. He was a player. He decided to become the manager, and given the state that Derby were in at the time, I thought he did a really good job. I think initially to keep them up.
They're a sinking ship. I'm not measuring them. To be fair, when you're looking at it, I'm not measuring them against Derby. That's like anyone measuring their success against PSG. That's just a foregone conclusion. I'm basing, in fact, on that run he had in the States where he was genuinely abysmal.
Yeah, so he took the move to DC United, which he has admitted himself didn't go well. But I think the bad patches and everything are the making of you. He took that job at Birmingham, which again was a terribly advised move. Horrendous.
Yeah, whoever advised that is insane. Whoever advised the Birmingham one is insane.
And now I think that he's at Plymouth. A lot of people writing him off, saying he's a busted flush. They started off pretty poorly, and it was like Wayne Rooney this, Wayne Rooney that. Obviously, Wayne Rooney is a former Manchester United player, he's a Manchester United legend. So the links in terms of getting that name in a headline. Yep. He's all, I see headlines. It's former Manchester United legend humiliated by X, Y, and Z. It's just talking about Wayne Rooney. I saw an article the other day saying Colleen is worried about Wayne Rooney's boozy and takeaway, lifestyle at Plymouth. It's like anything to get a headline about him. And I think what he's actually doing at Plymouth looks like he's actually doing really well, and he's actually gone down the divisions. He's not just took a job in the Premier League like we talked about Gerrard and Lampard before.
That's a smart thing. Like, that's where I'm only basing the flop side on jobs that he's actually done, where he generally hasn't been. Not immediately where I'm saying I'm demanding to win a trophy straight away. You know what I mean? I'm saying based on what he's actually went and gone to do, it hasn't worked. And you can say in that way, objectively, it's a flop. However, I would say he is braver than the likes of Gerrard and Lampard. Obviously, Lampard just started Derby, but he was in a team theoretically that should have didn't just. Yeah, they got to the playoff final and they lost, but theoretically that team should be in the top 2 of the championship with the amount of money they spent. So so he has failed.
Yeah,
and obviously he failed at Chelsea, which, to be fair, I get it. He was in a very difficult situation initially, but then they went and overdone it with him, and then they failed. But he still failed at Chelsea, regardless. He failed at Derby. He failed at Everton. So there's elements. So he is a flop. So I'm not saying it in a way where it's coming across where I'm disparaging them. I'm saying it based on an objective fact that's right in front of me, based on what I can see. But at least he has brave enough to go down the divisions. I don't think the rest of them are. I don't know if they will, or don't know if they would. And I think it's been elevated the fact that Gerrard is over in in Saudi making all that money he's got no means of proving he can be a success going down the line. If he wins stuff in Saudi, cool. You know what? So be it. I've had pisses that are more successful in the Saudi league, so there's no really any genuine measurement there, you know. So it's not going to. I think right now when you look at it, winning Saudi is like winning the MLS. I don't dislike the MLS. I like watching it Miami play. But if you're going to look at based on a genuine measurement of success, you're going to be judged more if you win a league in England, if you win it in France, Germany, Italy, Spain, or even somewhere like Portugal. You know, where you're more focused in that sense, where you've actually got a lot of eyes on you. There's a lot more attention. In the States, you could win 5 MLS Cups in a row. But then you can come to a big job in England or any other club I've just mentioned. Well, you flop heavy, regardless of your success. You're going to be labelled a failure. And that is unfortunate when it comes to football these days. That is top-level sport. Now, the MLS, even in the States, is still top-level football. It is. Even if it's not as developed as other leagues, it's still top-level football because it's the highest league in the States. So you still got to show that level of respect, where if I went and won 5 MLS Cups, I've still won 5 MLS Cups, but it's going to mean nothing if I go to another league. Say, for example, I am Frank Lampard and I've won 5 MLS Cups, or I'm Wayne Rooney, I've won 5 MLS Cups. Shut your fucking hole. I've won all that, and I go to a club like Man United or I go to whenever, and I win nothing. I'm labelled a flop, I'm labelled a failure. And that is unfortunately the truth when it comes to football these days. So
I guess it's like you're labelled by that though by the media, and then
massively
by and large social media. Like you look at Ange Postecoglou with Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they got beat by Brighton but after they beat United 3-0, Ange Postecoglou was the second coming. He's the next bloody.
He is a good manager, but you are right. Like you are right in that way. And I think that's genuinely the problem. And that's the perception. So I actually kind of agree with what you said about what's the harder route. Is it the media or is it management? And that's subjective. Like I actually think the harder route is actually media, because anything you say in the media is tripled than what you say as a manager, because you're going to get fact checked, source checked, double, triple checked on any word you say. Whereas a manager, like you're a football manager, you're judged on if you win things, if you play good football, and you're a success. So Thierry Henry, for example, is a perfect example. He's done both. So he's flopped as a manager with club football. He's done well with the France job, but he is flopped as a club manager. But in the media, he's in some of the highest paying media roles in the world, not because of his name, but because he's actually very good at his job when it comes to media. He's a very good football pundit. Obviously, similar to Jamie Carragher, so he has to carry the job.
Are being brought in to get other people in. So, for example, you saw that situation with Ronaldo where Gary Neville, Roy Keane, and that were doing an interview, and Ronaldo came over to see them. As a result, Sky then got a couple of minutes interview with him. Like this era of Barclays men Premier League players where they're getting ex-pros based on their contacts book as well.
Exactly.
But I think that like with the managers that we mentioned specifically, a lot of those guys went straight into top-level management after their careers because they've done the coaching badges, they've got the UEFA A license, UEFA Pro license, whatever the license is these days, and they were being selected based on who they were and their contacts book. So you're like, Steven Gerrard can bring in players from Liverpool because he's got good connections with them. Not necessarily meaning he's a good manager. He might be a good coach, but a lot of these players, you look at your Pep Guardiola, he was Barcelona's B team or reserve team manager, and he manager, that way. And you look at the players like I think Xavi. I think you mentioned Xavi. I think he did a similar thing. He went over to Qatar. He sort of played the rest of his career there, did a bit of coaching, and then he worked his way back to Barcelona. I think a lot of the top level managers have worked their way through. You look at Ruud van Nistelrooy now at United. Everyone's saying he's going to be the next United manager. I personally could not think of a worse person to put in as manager of Manchester United right now. It's just the Solskjaer effect. It's just the nostalgia effect. what credentials has Ruud van Nistelrooy got to become the Manchester United manager?
He's got a better win rate than both Arne Slot and Ten Hag in the
Right,
Eredivisie.
PSV.
Just to be a fact, just as a factual check, he's got a 6-7% win rate, that 3% more than Ten Hag, and it's 5% more than Slot, I believe.
I'm hang on. I'm gonna jump in here quickly before we get off into another tangent. I want to throw it. Yeah, no, he's absolutely right. I want to throw Naomi into this one on that basis. So, Seb mentioned there about like nostalgia, sort of managerial appointments. So you've sort of seen it with Chelsea and Frank Lampard, and we've seen it with Ole at United, and it looks like we're going to have Ruud at United. Do you think that does tarnish a manager's sort of credibility in that sense if they don't succeed? Like with Ole, a lot of people don't really like him on that basis, but a lot of us still consider him as a United legend. But do you think it tarnishes anything at all, or you just got to sort of separate the player from the manager?
Oof, I'm an Ollie fan. Like I love Ollie, so that's a good question. I think you are able to separate the player from the manager, but like with the Ruud too, I was on the preseason tour and he was there. I like got to see him, and everyone's like a huge fan of him. The whole like all the fans love him. All the like fan channels who were there, the media people, they love him. So, I think it would be cool. I hope it doesn't end like Ollie if we actually like go forward with it. But I feel like with United, like, once a red, always a red. Like I don't really think people will turn on it. But we might have a situation like Ollie on our hands. But I feel like even Ollie, once he left, it's like, oh, okay, whatever. Like Ollie's still a legend. And I think Southgate would be like super worse for United. Like I don't even want to hear his name again, but I just had to say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Go on, Reece. You've made a noise. Go on, say your piece.
I think if you can't separate the player from from the player side to the manager side, then you're part of the problem.
Explain.
If you can't separate one from the other, then you're definitely part of the problem. That's someone's opinion that you can't trust. If you can't separate, if you base it on, well, this is what they did as a player, I was like, I don't give a fuck what they did as a player. What they did as a player is done. They're a manager now. You judge it solely as a manager. Now,
yeah, I mean, just on the United link, like the idea that Ryan Giggs could have one day become Man United manager when he did that year under Van Gaal, and then obviously Van Gaal got sacked, and I think Giggs did he did the last 4 games of the season.
He did that for Moyes.
Moyes, that was it. So he did that with Moyes, and then he became Van Gaal's assistant manager. And I'm thinking, here we go. This is sensible. They've taken a club legend. They're going to blood him in by learning, seeing what the manager does, to eventually one day succeed him. That is what a lot of people think is happening with Ruud van Nistelrooy. But now all of a sudden, we're 7th of October, United have played 8 games or something, and now everyone's saying we want Ruud van Nistelrooy as a manager. Why?
No, you got a great point there. It's
I like Ruud, but I'm not a fan of going back down the interim manager route for a club legend. As much as I love Ruud to death, he's the best striker I've ever seen play for Man United. He's my favourite striker of all time at the club.
Yeah,
but
easily.
As much I would watch him on an interim basis, I think United would be genuinely good under Van Nistelrooy. But I do think United going for an interim manager when there's still 8 months of the season left, we're still fighting in several competitions. It feels like a cop-out.
I agree.
And I don't think that's fair on someone like Ruud as well, who's had to openly come out and say that he doesn't want to feel like he's a snake to Ten Hag, who's brought him back to the club as an assistant manager on his team. He's absolutely spot on. Like, this is why he quit the PSV job, because he thought that his assistant and players were trying to revolt against him. They were trying to take him out of the job so the assistant could get the job. He felt betrayed. Yeah. He's actually proving himself as a strong person of character and a strong individual to say, no, I do not want to take this job, because then I feel like I've not earned it. I've just been given it because I'm his second. Frankly, if you're going to put a manager, hypothetically, that's already within the club as first team manager, who won't feel like a snake, it won't come across in that way, is Rennie Haka. He's another manager who we brought in who's in a coaching role. He used to manage several football clubs. It would make sense because he doesn't have that sort of allegiance. He doesn't have that kind of factor towards Ten Hag. So it gives you something else. But I think United going down the interim route is a cop-out. I don't think United need a cop-out. If they make a decision during the international break, there are plenty of managers not employed. It's not exactly difficult for a club like Man United to get another manager in charge within 2 weeks. It's easy as fuck. So there's no need. If by any means they go down the interim route, they go with Van Nistelrooy or they end up with René Haka or whoever gets the job, then absolutely I hope they do well. But if it's purely just to get to the end of the season because they want a long-term manager, then they better hope they have an idea of what they're looking for. Because if they're just going to make the same decision and they end up saying, well, actually, Van Nistelrooy's won 10 games or whatever, let's make him the manager, you're kind of repeating the problems that were already done 5, 6, 7 years ago when you said we don't want to do that in the first place. So you can't revert back to the old methods of the people that you've replaced in charge to then say, actually, we're going to follow them in the same manner. Because United are still competing in plenty of competitions. There's still a feasible chance United could win 1 or 2 of those if they turn it around with somebody who actually has an ambition to do better. If you're doing it under an interim, these players aren't going to care. And yeah, fair enough, I would like to see Van Nistelrooy win the Europa League as Man United manager. If he won the FA Cup or whatever, if he'd done all that and he finished top 6, then cool. But I do not want to subject him to the Man United job because let's be real, he's not ready for it. And I loved him. I love Ruud Van Nistelrooy. I think Ten Hag's pissed me off enough. But I would hate to see Van Nistelrooy get the job. And I reiterate what Naomi said. I'd hate to see him get the job and then all of a sudden he has a Solskjaer effect on him within a year, 2 years, maybe even 3, depending on how long he's got the job. Cannot go through that again. We've already had to criticise one manager for not learning lessons. It's the same cycle, which is someone else. They're not learning lessons. And that will only stop when someone who's a manager has a fucking backbone.
Yeah, no, there's elements of truth in that, absolutely. Julio made a good comment there, sort of Michael Carrick, part of this new breed of midfield managers who are doing well. There's an element of it said where you see sort of like the underrated players. So I named obviously Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, Wayne Rooney, had incredible careers. But the sort of ones that sort of went under the radar, like Carrick, obviously won a lot of trophies, one of the most underrated players, I think, in Premier League history for sure. These sort of new breed of managers that are coming through, sort of the underrated ones, seem to be able to go about their business under the radar and actually do pretty well.
Yeah.
What do you think, Seth?
Yeah, well, I think it's just a general churn of life, isn't it? It's, when I was growing up, I didn't know that Brian Robson, Mark Hughes were top class footballers. They were managers to me. Steve Bruce was a manager to me because I was born when they were at the end of their careers. So when I saw the likes of them, then I find out that they're actually Man United legends as I get older. It's like, oh right, I didn't realise, and we're now seeing that same rinse and repeat again. You Michael Carrick, as it's been mentioned, obviously one of the greatest managers of all time, was a footballer that never fulfilled his potential, never played most of his games in Division 2, and that was Brian Clough. So it doesn't, just because you're a top footballer doesn't mean you're always going to become a top manager, and because you're a top manager doesn't always mean you were a top footballer. As Reece was saying before, it's all about your skill set in that particular role. And when he said about Gabriel Bonlahor and would anybody listen to him, we're basing that on him on TalkSport.
Yeah.
He is, as you said, he's a bit of a clown, but that's why they employ him.
He's playing a character.
Tried to employ Troy Deeney to do that.
He could be a 5. He could win 5 Champions Leagues as a manager, and I still wouldn't listen to him.
Yeah, but again, is that based on what you've seen of him post career? Because I didn't know anything about.
No, I seen him as I was unfortunate to watch him as a player as well during that time, like growing up, and he was a wanker on the field then. He's a wanker off the field now. I would absolutely not listen to him, but I would listen to Nigel Harewood, for example. I'd listen to Stelian Petrov. I'd listen to Gareth Barry from players that he played with in that team, that Villa team, for example. But I wouldn't listen to him. Not a chance.
What might James Milner become a coach in his later career? I think he might.
I can see that happening. I can see him becoming a manager, to be fair.
But the thing is, as well, is there's a difference as well between a manager and a coach.
add
A
Pirlo
lot of these
to,
players, like Solskjaer came to United and he was interim manager, but he'd done quite well at Mulder. So we had a bit of something about him. We went on that incredible run, I think, where we didn't lose a game in 16, not PSG out of the Champions League, and it was, Rio Ferdinand famously with the giving the blank contract and everything. And then the same old thing happened at Manchester United.
Sorry, I meant Marlon Harewood. Yeah, I got Nigel Real Coker and Marlon Harewood mixed up. Yeah, Marlon Harewood regardless.
Same old thing at Manchester United happened where, it starts off well, we get a bit of momentum, we spend a load of money, and it all falls apart. Now, with Solskjaer, obviously the whole Ronaldo situation happened. If that never happened and he did go to City, because it was very, very well touted that he was going to sign for City, that wasn't made up. Would Solskjaer's project have continued, or would it have gone the way that it went eventually, where it all fell apart? The chances are the latter, just because of the size of the club and the expectations and the media scrutiny. And you're finding that I actually think Ten Hag at United should not be sacked, irrelevant as to what the results have been like, because the board and the ownership and everything above him need to say to the players, this is the guy that's in charge. He's going to be in charge for stability. If you don't like it, off you pop. Just like if you worked in a job and you didn't like your boss, you don't just go to the owners and get the boss sacked. You leave and go somewhere else. And I think obviously they're assets, they're valuable assets. So that's sort of why it's so different in football. But if we just sack Ten Hag now, you're just giving him a year contract extension, which we knew they were going to do anyway, because they need that stability until they do decide to change, if they decide. But if they sack Ten Hag now, what does that say to the players? You down tools, we sack the manager. So then who they bring in? The only person I think feasible to bring in, other than I think is it Inzaghi or something, Simeone Inzaghi, who allegedly rejected the job. Nobody rejects Man United. That probably
he's my. I don't think he's rejected the club.
No,
See, the thing is, he's my top choice for the job. I think he would rather wait till the end of the season, because I think he wants to sweep Serie A again. I think he'll sweep Serie A and then he'll leave.
I just think Tuchel's the answer. I think the answer is Thomas Tuchel. He's very, very well spoken of Manchester United. When United played Bayern Munich and he was asked, he was very, very, very positive about United. He clearly would love to have the Man United job. And I think now is, if they are going to change the manager, which I don't think they should, the only person that could come in, like he did at Chelsea, would be him. Who's available.
He's one available that you would think experienced heads in R1. Obviously, there's one else I would say, but people don't like when I think of certain negative tactical football. But hey ho, I'll leave that quiet. But he is one that you could theoretically bring in, and you would see a change. You would see a shore up. To be fair, see, when it comes to sacking managers, I would also sack the players regardless. There's some clubs that have sacked players midway through a season. They haven't cared. I mean, Man United did sack Roy Keane from his contract over one stupid video where he spoke sense. So frankly,
that is he only had 6 months left on his deal anyway. So
I don't care. I don't care. If you're at this club,
that shows you the power of the manager. Alex Ferguson ran the club. Alex Ferguson made the decision to sack Roy Keane. Ten Hag can't turn around to Marcus Rashford and say, we're going to tear your contract up, because he doesn't have that power.
That's because they will not stand by that.
Exactly.
Like they won't stand by it, because they'll find ways to say, well, actually, no way to keep this asset.
Of course.
But also, theoretically, if somebody is deliberately down tooling, or they're not giving 100% in their job, if this was us in our own jobs, we would be given a warning. If it happens again, you'd then be brought into another meeting with a discipline, and then after that, you would be sacked. These players have been doing it for over 10 years.
Yeah,
I know they've had too many chances.
Naomi, jumping on them, go on.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. Just wanted to add a little to what Seb said. So if we let go of Ten Hag, we will have a bunch of players that have successfully seen off their third manager in a row, while they're making bank. And I really don't like to place blame on players just because of how much abuse they get on a random day. But I've just seen our players shut off on the field. I think, was it the Porto game where they shut off right after the first goal, and they had to get back into that mental space again. Last season, I would just get so annoyed at them because they would shut off. I always try to make the best of a game. I'm like, okay, we didn't win, but like, oh, maybe my favorite player scored or someone did something fun or, but that would be hard to do when they just like literally turn off. And it's just been too common seeing that. So Seb, when you said like, oh, I wouldn't sack the manager like right now, the last time we had this conversation seriously was the FA Cup final. It's only been 5 months since May. So they shut off, another manager like gets sacked. It's like, what the hell are we doing?
Have you noticed as well, funnily enough, have you noticed an element with football side these days is when the player does get a manager sacked, there's some that will celebrate on social media. There's some that next day will come in with a whole new lease of life attitude. But then they'll get somebody who challenges them again and then they can't take it. Like, professional footballers these days are the most coddled human beings on the planet. Like they could get smacked with a cold air and they would probably cry begging for hot weather. Like, there's no professionalism these days, and I think I always stand by it. Like, if you do sack a manager, there's definitely certain players who absolutely should be looked at if they're not chopping up trees, and they should be given the same treatment. And I think another thing as well, ironically, is especially when you mentioned the social media aspect. Have you noticed as well that the ones doing a lot of criticising are the ones with Play FC, but they won't. But they'll defend the person that's in their profile picture to the absolute letter. But if it's somebody affecting their position, they'll absolutely crucify them. Like, that person's the problem, but it's never the person that's a profile picture because they don't want to admit
we can't take any sort of.
You don't want to take it for a pinch of salt.
Social media kids.
But the thing is, though, is you don't want to take it for a pinch of salt. The problem is these football clubs will, though, because they see all this, they see all the traction, and notice how most of them are considered untouchable. They shouldn't be, but they are because of that reason, or because they've got an asset to the club in terms of money they bring in. Like, that's the problem. Like, even if you bring money in, you still shouldn't be untouchable. Everyone in the sense of it will be a scapegoat at some point. But if you're deliberately not doing your job, and you're not doing the job your way you're asked to, like, there's players these days that just refuse to train because they deem it too difficult. And I'm like,
I mean, I hate to bring it up, but when Jadon came back to United and he was training with like the under 21s and stuff, like, why are you here unless you're waiting for the manager to be sacked? So we had to process that for months. Like, we're like, you're waiting for him to be sacked. Like, that's weird. Yeah. So
exactly. Like, there is an element there that if you can't even just do the basics right of your own job, and let's be real, they get paid hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. Like, if they're getting that and you're not churning up trees, then that irks me as well. Like, you've got players who are on like 300 grand a week, players are on like 150, 200, and you're like, for all that money, and you can't even show the common courtesy to do your job every single week. Now, obviously, if you've got personal issues, you can let that slide. If you've got personal issues, then you can absolutely let that slide. That will compromise you in the worst way. But if there's generally nothing wrong with you, and you're just being an absolute clown, then you should be held in the same regard. If the manager gets sacked and you're not doing your job, then you should be sacked as well, even if you're an asset.
Yeah,
like, you should be.
I think a lot of people agree with you too, Reese, because you see like all the fans, like, they work hard Monday to Friday, like weekends, nights, and then try to make it to the game, pay astronomical prices for the game, or like, they just do a lot to remain a supporter. And then it's like, oh, someone who actually plays for the team like can't even give it like 50% of what they got.
Yeah, I bet these players would react differently if they were told their wages were now going to be under a capped process. Because there's some clubs that do a wage cap, and I guarantee these players would go, "Now, I'll go to a club where it's uncapped, and then you'll know what their ambition is. It's money over the job."
I was going to ask you, Seb, actually that question. So, talking about what's important to like the modern day football.
I'm a great pivot.
It starts with P. That's an absolute start. I was gonna say to Seb, I watched a bit of the overlap with Gary Neville and all that the other week, and they talked about what's the best bit of memorabilia that they've got, and all of them said So Ian Wright said his first and last England cap, and Keane said his Ireland cap, excuse me. And Wayne's apparently got this hexagon table in his house that's full of his caps with his shirt. And again, Gary Neville said the same thing. I'm starting to see a trend now that it's just not that important for the modern day footballer to play for their countries. Would you agree or disagree?
I disagree that it's not important, because I do think every single footballer, it's their dream to play for their country. I think when the likes of Gary Neville, even Wayne Rooney to an extent, were growing up, society wasn't as fruitful as it is. You know, nowadays we can pick up FIFA and play Football Manager, and we can play as a character that can play for a country. And doing that over and over and over again, you can potentially become desensitized to it. So, you know, young footballers now are finding themselves in these video games. They're playing these video games, and then they're being paid thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds a week, you know, being mollycoddled. And then because they play for Manchester United, or they're in the Tottenham team or whatever, they're getting put in the England squad or whatever nation they play for. They're being fast-tracked essentially to the first team of their national team.
Yep.
There's potentially that. I think, you know, when a player earns it though, and they do a post-match interview, they talk about how proud they are. They talk about how much it means to their family getting that phone call. So I do think that I do think it is still there, but I think because of social media, because of how elevating how much discourse there is. For example, us now, you know, when Gary Neville was 19, these podcast things didn't exist with people talking and
it was just monthly written forums and stuff.
Yeah, it was magazines, or it was the newspaper, or, you know, the evening news, which again football wasn't a massive part of. So I think nowadays, because there's so much access to so much sport and so much access to, you know, so footballers have social media pages. Granted, they don't run them themselves mostly, but I think because we just see so much of it, we sort of feel that maybe they're desensitized to it a little bit, and potentially some of them are. You know, the young lad, like I keep seeing news articles about what Ravel Morrison's up to. I couldn't give a damn about what Ravel Morrison's up to. He had the world at his feet, and he threw it all the way through bad decisions. Yet the media still lap up this guy who's 32, 33, whatever he is now. He's just signed for a new club. It's like, not interested. But he obviously changed allegiances and went to play for Jamaica, and got caps for them because he was a former Manchester United player, and they obviously see him as, you know, as a potential star that he just never materialized to be. And people just are nostalgia merchants for you know, for people like him who go, oh look, he was in that great team with Paul Pogba and everything. And it's like, but yeah, so I don't know. I think that there is a sense that players aren't necessarily getting it. And I think that a lot of people go, oh, well, he was given a cap when he doesn't deserve it. You've seen Lee Carsley, for example, give a few first team caps away because he had these players in, I think, the under 21s or whatever the second string of England is. And
the under 21s.
You know, whether they get another cap again is seldom to be seen. It depends on how their careers go. But you know, I think when Wayne Rooney made his England debut, there was a lad that made his England debut in the same game against Australia who never played for England again. Chris Sutton famously has one England cap that he never stops mentioning. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think that they're desensitized. I don't think that they, you know.
Yeah, I think I'm with Seb on this one. Just being in touch with how more of the younger soccer players express themselves and stuff like that. I definitely noticed like a lot of buzz whenever anyone like makes the team, like maybe the England team or something like that, and then just the same amount of dissatisfaction when they don't make the team, and also how hard they take it when they like are not proud of their performance for their country. And a good example of that is when Rashi, Jadon Saka missed the penalties in the Euro finals, and it basically destroyed them for the next year. So I think they think about it.
Very quickly before we move on, Naomi, Pochettino obviously taken over at the USA. What are your thoughts? Because obviously the World Cup in your home states and your home country. What are your expectations of that tournament for you? And with Pochettino being there, you must be excited first of all to have this tournament itself.
So pumped. Yeah. So pumped. I watched an interview that Gary did with him recently on the Overlap US, or this it's called soccer. Yeah, everyone is buzzed about it. People in my class were asking me about that also. It's just a very exciting time to be like in the soccer community in the US, just because for the last many years it hasn't been as relevant. So now, like whether you're an individual, whether you're an organization, it's a great time to like, explore how you can be involved with it. And we're gonna need like a lot of like basically raise awareness about soccer. There's a lot of potential to like do businesses. There's a lot of like sponsorship deals that are gonna be going out. And then the actual the World Cup itself, it's not gonna be in like one state. It's gonna be like over the whole nation and across the whole North America. So yeah, I think it's exciting to just like see how you want to get involved, but also just having him and hearing him talk about, because he said things across the same tone. Because like Gary asked him what he thinks about the timing of this, and he was like, the timing is just, I couldn't miss out. So yeah, I think timing is everything, and there's a lot to be done, a lot to talk about even. So yeah.
What's like a realistic expectation, do you think, for the tournament itself? Like, where would you be happy as a country to finish in the tournament?
I mean, the host has to win, right? Nah, I'm playing. But I don't know, like the quarterfinals would be pretty cool. They can really make some moves and go ahead if they want to. So I mean, I'm gonna say we're gonna win, because I think that's what you're supposed to say.
I think when you look at it on paper, like players wise and the quality there, I mean, Pulisic, Musa, McKennie, like these are all players who in the next year or two are going to be even better than what they already are when they're generally good players. I mean, you've got Timothy Weah as well. Like, there's a good squad in there, minus your goalkeeper. But when you look at the general sense of the squad, it's interesting. I've seen a few articles that are apparently saying that the governing body of like US national football team are basically saying that Pochettino should be winning the World Cup in 2026. I don't think the USA will potentially, maybe not immediately. They might win a World Cup. Like, realistically, I think they could, but I don't know when. But when I look at it in a realistic sense, there are some good players there to realistically challenge in the World Cup in the next couple of tournaments. I think the US have got a decent chance going forward to win Copa America as well. But I think logically, I think the quarterfinals is a realistic expectation. Even on home soil, like getting to the quarterfinals would actually be quite good. And then you can theoretically see how far you go. I like this. I like the team that is already there. It's just something about Pochettino. I've just never been much a fan of him. But I think you have actually got the right kind of coach for the players you've got. It makes sense. Like, it actually makes sense. I think he'll be really good at the World Cup. To be fair, I think Pulisic will be one of the best players in the World Cup by a mile.
And when it comes to World Cups, obviously you're not going to have much of a dog in the fight anyway, are you, Reece? Let's be honest.
Nah, I'm well covered. I'm well covered when it comes to international football.
Yeah, you watch more football than the average man, that's for sure. Right, great chats, guys. Really good, good.
I've got more countries than the UK government. Put it that way. I'm just kidding. But I've got enough to cover me. When you look at the World Cup, like the outstanding favourite to win it is Spain. I think the US will get quarters minimum.
Well, as an England fan, I'll be saying that we're winning it all the way up until
group stage exit.
No.
Actually, hold on. You weren't at the last World Cup in the US, so even if you get to the World Cup in 2026, at least you can say that you have made it.
We will get to it. It's just depends on how we do.
As long as there's no 30-yard goals that Diana Ross's daughter, whoever it is, hits the ball and misses, then we should be a good start to the tournament.
Right, let's move on, guys, because I'm going to come to the part that Reece has been really looking forward to. So every week I do a top 10 before 10. This week I'm going to do the last 10 before 10. This isn't sport related. If you're the first time on the show, this is completely just I go out, find a really random subject, and I'll ask the panel to have a go at naming the 10 names. They have to work together. You've got 3 lives, 1 for each person on the show. Last time I gave you 4 lives, as you remember, Reese and Evan, because I thought you'll need that, and you did. You needed all 4, unfortunately. So this week, as I said to Reese in the chats, this is for the movie buff in you. Okay, so I am going to ask you guys to work together and give me the last 10 winners of the Best Actor Award at the Academy Awards, aka the Oscars. So this is spanning from 2023 to 2014. 10 actors I need from you guys. Good luck. Who wants to start us off?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Leonardo DiCaprio. You locking it in?
Yeah.
Locking it in. Congratulations. That's your first one.
Yes.
Won it in 2015 for his role in The Revenant.
Oh, I thought it'd have been in Wolf of Wall Street.
So
That took mine.
2014 to 2023, yeah?
2014 to 2023, yeah. Leo
Tom
won
Hanks.
it in. Are you locking that in?
Yeah.
Right. You've lost your first life.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
I want to say Bradley Cooper.
Star is Born by any chance, or Hangover? Because they're both great films, so I'm actually thinking if you're looking at it, that's a good shout.
Silver Linings.
I'm gonna give you a chance before I'll ask you to lock it in. This is for you guys to work together. So before I take that answer, just confer between you.
DiCaprio's a great shout, but to be fair, actors nowadays also translates to women as well, because obviously they've now blended into just one. It's no longer.
I will give you the hint. It is just they are all male.
They're all male.
Yeah.
All right, okay, that's fine.
Because the Oscars do a Best Actress and Best Actor.
Surely though, the likes of I don't know if he ever won one for the Marvel films, but surely the likes of Robert Downey Jr. would be in this sort of conversation because he's an elite actor. But I don't know. I don't pay attention to the Academy Awards. I just watch the films.
Who's the Wolverine? Who's the Wolverine actor? Do you guys know?
Say again.
Well,
The Wolverine.
Timothée Chalamet I've got for 2023. I don't know if he was Wonka 2023, the new Wonka film.
That was last year.
Chalamet seems to be.
That was last year, yeah.
Yeah, he seems to be the up and coming superstar that everybody wants to watch. So I don't know if he's on that list, but
I was wondering if the same person from did Dune win anything? Because that was a great film.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, I'm thinking that as well, but I'm also thinking other films that were really prominent as well.
9 to
should we go with him?
3 lives.
Okay. So we've got Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
Naomi, the person you said before you stopped yourself was Bradley Cooper. It's a good shout. I don't to be fair,
anything that's won an award though, is it?
I don't pay attention to Academy Awards. I just love films. But I'm trying to think who else theoretically you could say. Because to be fair, I know about directors that were actors as well that won films. Films based on being a good director. Like Ben Affleck won one for his film Argo, but that doesn't count because that's a director, not the film.
What about Henry Cavill? He was in Superman. He was in the Superman films, but to be fair, I'm not giving anyone a best actor to a film that was absolutely stupid in Batman vs Superman when it pissed me off as a fan.
All right, George Clooney.
No, we don't.
Has he been in a film recently?
He ruined Batman. Well, to be fair, he's more in TV stuff. But he has got a film coming out, funnily enough, with Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm pretty sure that's a film.
He killed that Batman.
He fucking pissed me off with that film.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin 1997 came out 2 months
No
after I was
Googling,
born.
anyone. No Googling.
I refuse to Google anyway, don't worry. Not for stuff like this, I refuse to Google. I was going to say, has Cillian Murphy been in anything recently, or has he just been in TV? Because
do you want to lock that in?
No, I'm suggesting this is an option because he's just an absolute brilliant actor.
What was he in? What's he been in recently?
That's the thing is, I've mostly seen him in just TV.
Was it that? No, what he was in the atom bomb film, Oppenheimer. He was in that, wasn't he?
That was last year. Yes.
Was it?
What's his name?
But that was last year. He wouldn't have won anything. Actually, hold on.
2023 to 2014.
I actually want to go with Cillian Murphy. I want to go with Cillian Murphy because Oppenheimer was the best film I saw last year.
I liked it.
Good.
Cillian Murphy.
Yeah. Cillian Murphy, 2023.
Thank you, Scarecrow. Thank you, Scarecrow.
Okay.
3 lives remaining, 8 to go.
Hugh Jackman?
Yeah.
He's not been in anything, has he?
Great
though?
Showman. Great Showman.
Oh yeah, true.
Hugh Jackman. That's
Locking
a good
it
shout.
in?
You want to go for it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incorrect. 2 lives remaining, 8 still to go.
Did I know the Joker 2's just come out and it's been absolutely panned, but did the first one do well? Did that win?
Joaquin Phoenix, I don't think he won Best Actor. I think there was something, they did win an award, but I don't think it was Best Actor.
Maybe it was the best film. Yeah, maybe it was best
No,
picture.
it was a good film, but it wasn't best film. That's the problem with films these days, is they think some good films end up getting the best film when Jesus Christ. It could have been better. I liked it, but it could have been better. I think there was something else that they won. I can't remember what it was, but I don't think it was Best Actor. I'm trying to think what else came out that was.
I'd love to say Vin Diesel, but he definitely hasn't won one. As a big Fast and Furious fan.
Wait a minute.
Has The Rock ever won anything?
Yeah, WWE title 10 times.
The People's Champion.
I was going to suggest, actually.
Who?
Did Rami Malek win anything for Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yeah, he did. He was like the first first brown actor to win something that.
He is one of my favorite actors of all time. He's just that good. Because I was thinking of Rami Malek. Put your Will Smith shades back off, boy.
Would you like to lock in Rami Malek?
Smith's a shout.
But what's he been in recently?
He did the Serena Williams sister. Yeah, King Richard. Did he? I don't know if he won anything for it, but it may be.
I was gonna say all I've seen him do is slap Chris Rock, but that's it. I was thinking Rami Malek just because of Bohemian Rhapsody. It was an absolute special film, but I don't know if he won anything. But I want to go for it.
Just
locking it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one. 2018 Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody.
Just for the record,
I apologize if we lose a life, but I'm going Will Smith.
Just for the record, I've watched Bohemian Rhapsody 47
times. You locking in Will Smith?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What was it?
He won it. That was the year he slapped Chris Rock.
Yeah.
And he had to go up straight after.
It was.
And he won it for King Richard.
What film was it?
How long ago was that?
That was 2021, and he won it for King Richard.
King Richard, that was a brilliant film.
To be fair, I haven't seen it. I didn't realize he was in it.
But yeah, he slapped Chris Rock, and then he had to go up 2 awards afterwards, and then win the Best Actor.
I wonder, has Jeff Goldblum been in anything?
I have to remember that.
Has Jeff Goldblum been in anything besides the Marvel films? Because he always seems to win something. But I'm not locking in Jeff Goldblum. I'm just thinking, has he been in anything besides that? Because Independence Day 2 came out, but I don't know if it was successful.
6 awards to give me, 2 lives remaining.
Sylvester Stallone, no. Arnold Schwarzenegger, no. He defaults on everything. Daniel Craig, I'm not sure. Dave Bautista's a great actor, but I don't know if he's won anything. I don't, especially for Best Actor. I'd say he's more of a sport like us. I think he's more of like the supporting because he's just great in everything else that he does.
I want to say Bradley Cooper.
Go for it. Just block it in.
All right, let's lock it in. Bradley Cooper.
He's been in several, so there's a chance. But
locking in Bradley Cooper, incorrect.
All right, last line.
Have we set
Phoenix for the Joker?
No.
Maybe not the Joker then. What was he in with Lady? No, it wasn't Lady.
That was a Star is Born. That was Bradley.
Star is Born. We're not having Joaquin now.
No, but he was wrong. Has Brad Pitt been in anything recently?
You never locked in Joaquin Phoenix.
I'm not sure if he actually won anything, but it was on the Best Actor. I know he was actually good in the film, but I don't know if he won Best Actor.
Yeah, true. All right.
I do like the film though, and I do like Joaquin Phoenix as an actor. I just can't remember if he won Best Actor or if he won something else, like something else, like because you have Best Actor and you've got Best Performance, and they split them both because they're absolutely stupid. But
they have Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah, I think he is worth a shout though. I was going to say Brad Pitt, but I haven't rated him as an actor for years.
I don't think he's been in anything recently.
No, I don't rate him as an actor. Anyway.
Robert Pattinson, maybe.
I don't think. Has he been anything other than Harry Potter? And
he didn't win anything. He didn't win anything for the Batman.
Oh yeah, the Batman. God, I forgot about that.
Elephant's Graveyard.
I haven't seen that. I've heard it's good though.
Nathan. Lock in Joaquin Phoenix.
Correct.
Yes.
Did he get
He
best
won
actor?
Best Actor for the Joker 2019.
We were talking about the
Couldn't remember-
Batman.
I wasn't sure if he won it.
I wasn't either, but it was either that or we carry on here all night.
To be fair, see if he hadn't won it, it would have been like it would have been injustice because you look at what they're up against.
Can we have some clues?
You want a clue? I'll give you a clue. All right.
He is a good actor. I just wasn't sure if he won. Like I said, I don't watch the Academy
Only because
Awards.
the Joker 2 just came out. It was in my mind.
Yeah.
So there was one based loosely on a certain prime minister during a certain war, and the actor that played the certain prime minister won the Best Actor.
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman, correct.
Oh, in Darkest Hour?
Won it in 2017 for The Darkest Hour.
He's a great actor. I really like Gary Oldman.
He was in the Book of Eli, and that was a brilliant, brilliant film.
He doesn't get talked about enough for especially enough for greatest actors. He doesn't get talked.
He's like he's like in the top 3 highest grossing actors.
I know,
of all time.
and some
him,
people
Harrison Ford, and Gary Oldman just sort of like knock each other off the perch.
He hasn't been in anything remotely. I was going to suggest Harrison Ford, but he hasn't been in anything that's got best actor. I was going to say Michael Caine as well, but he hasn't, so that's why I've not mentioned Michael Caine.
What years have we got left?
I'll give you the years. That might actually help. So you've got 2014, 2016, 2020, and 2022.
So 2014 is the oldest one. So what films for 2014?
That was when a year before the fraudulent Star Wars sequels were coming out. So I don't count them as films.
Do you think there was maybe a film based on a certain scientist who made
yes, the guy that played Stephen Hawking in the Theory of Everything or whatever it was called, and he was also the guy who played Newt in the Harry Potter prequels.
Redmayne.
He was that guy who was in A Theory of Everything.
Do you want to look that in?
Stephen Salamander, or whatever he was called.
He played Stephen Hawking.
Did he?
That actor. Yeah, he played Stephen Hawking. Yeah. Him.
Right. Correct. Eddie Redmayne, 2014 for The Theory of Everything.
Ooh.
Brilliant film, to be fair.
Did anyone win for Parasite, the movie? I don't remember it. Parasite in 2020. It was an Oscar.
If he says yes, then you've got the answer. So you can't really answer.
I have no idea who the actors are. I just know the
I will
director.
tell you that Best Parasite won Best Picture.
Yeah, okay. So that's not Best Actor. Because normally you can have the Best Picture, you can not.
Because like Seb said, we could be here all night at this rate. But you've got
so
one
that was
life
20.
remaining.
So 2016 and 2020, you said, sorry.
You've got 2022, 2020, and 2016 remaining.
2020 would have been something that came out of the first half of the year, surely, because of COVID. So we're looking January, February.
I can't remember much of the films that came out in 2020. I'm trying, but 2022 were more 2022 had a lot of serial blockbusters, but 2020 I can't remember. So it was 2016 you said, sorry, bud. No, we got 2016, 2018.
No, you've got 2018. That was Bohemian Rhapsody. So you're missing 2016, 2022, and 2020.
2016. That was, funnily enough, the year that Batman vs Superman came out as well.
Deemed to be the worst year in movies for a long time. 2016.
Guardians of the Galaxy. I think one of them was out that year as well. I'm trying to think what other films came out in 2016.
And to be honest, you've left the hardest free till last.
2016 was also the year Prometheus, I think, came out.
So we'll give it another. I'll give you another minute to guess another one, because otherwise we will be here until 11 o'clock at night.
Can we get a clue each of them, but a non-spoiler?
That's a fair,
2022 was deemed the big return of a massive actor that we hadn't seen for a long time. That's all I can give you for that one.
I guess if we get the film, it's not. All right, 2022 was a return of an actor.
Was it
Any? No,
2022.
Was it Tom Cruise?
Tom Cruise? No. Well, yeah, maybe Mission Impossible. I doubt it though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Should we lock in Cruise.
Actually,
Get it
I
over
would
with.
like. Actually, I would like to, because I'm pretty sure 2022 Top Gun Maverick came out.
I'll give you another hint for 2022. So the actor in question, is also active with The Rock.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There was a film. Yeah, that's all I can give you at the moment.
They were with The Rock, and it was 2022.
Hang
It's the
on.
first time.
He wasn't in the film
Oh.
with that film, but he's worked with The Rock previously.
Did
To
Tom
be fair,
Cruise
I would
appear
have-
in a film of the same name
I would have said something random. You know what's
many
mad
years
is
later?
there's when you look at his films, you've also got somebody who's in a film with him like Pierce Brosnan.
What was the movie with Rock and two other guys, and then one of them had a recent movie with a dog? No.
I've no idea. A dog. The movie I was thinking of, you said he acted with The Rock many years ago,
Mm.
and then you mentioned Tom Cruise.
Mm.
I'm thinking The Mummy.
Mm.
Ah,
Who was in The
yes.
Mummy? But I don't know
Yeah.
why. Did he
Mhm.
win an award?
Come on, Reese.
Yeah.
The name's there.
Oh, I'm trying to get it. I am trying, because I think I know who you're talking about, because he was in the Mummy. He was in the Mummy series. Oh,
I can see his face.
Is it not Brandon something?
Brendan
Not sure.
Fraser.
Brendan Fraser, yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
2022, won it for The
I
Whale.
got it.
How
Yeah.
could I forget his name?
And I think we'll leave
Yes,
it there,
he was-
chaps.
No,
I
I'm
wanted
not
it,
giving.
yes,
I'm not giving up yet. I'm not
All right,
giving
he's
up.
not giving.
I want the last two. I
All
want
right.
the last two. Like, we've got to do this. And we have one life left anyway, so either we don't get it or we get them. So we're gonna...
2016, the actor that won it was the brother of someone we've previously mentioned, but not for the best actor.
The brother.
He was a brother of a famous director that you mentioned earlier. Won it for a film that you mentioned earlier, but it wasn't him that won the best actor. It was
We
his
get
brother won
VAR so we can go back and watch what he said.
The question is, who was the one that suggested it?
it. You.
Oh, that's me fucking screwed. Okay.
To be
Let's
fair, I
see.
think you've named every actor under the sun thus far.
Director of the brother, he was the brother of the
The
director.
brother that won it.
Cody
You've
Walker.
mentioned the brother.
Yeah, and he was the director.
He wasn't the director of this film, but he's a director, and this is his younger brother.
I am the sin of all evil.
What's the other one though? So if we come back to that one.
You can come back to that one. So the other one that came out in 2020. Oh, it's difficult to give clues. For this
Genre.
one.
Just genre.
I don't fucking know. I ain't seen this film. I don't think anyone saw this film. It's
Search
2020.
up. Just have a quick search on Google.
Right, okay.
You can search it. We can't. Totally bringing up YouTube so I can rewind all the directors I've said. Just kidding.
No, I'll give you the cast of the film. I don't think it will help, but
Go on.
so I won't name the actor obviously that won it, but I'll name his.
Of course, name his
supporting.
supporting bitches.
Olivia Colman, Imogen Poots, Rufus Sewell, Olivia Williams, Mark Gatiss, Evie Ray, and that's all the names I recognise.
Was it Idris Elba?
Lock it in. Get it over and done with.
Are you locking it in?
Yes.
Reese, are you in agreement? Because his pride will hurt him if you get it wrong.
I don't want to look it.
My pride will want to eliminate you all if it's wrong.
I don't think it's right.
Comparative nature. Okay, let me just think.
You've got 30 seconds to think, Reese, and then I'm locking in Idris Elba.
Because I was stuck between Idris Elba and Matt Damon.
Matt Damon was the one I thought about earlier with the Rock.
Yeah, that was funny. Because all the names I've mentioned before we lock in pure the name, before we lock in Idris Elba or whatever.
I like Matt Damon.
I was thinking Matt Damon. I was thinking Idris Elba. Funny enough, I was thinking Pierce Brosnan. I was thinking Michael Caine. I was thinking of
10, 9, 8, 7.
No,
6.
you do not count me.
It's my show. I'll count you.
No, there was one other. I don't know if he won anything for the Creed films though. That's the problem. the guy who was in Creed. I wasn't sure if he
No.
won anything, but
Michael Jordan.
he's a good actor. But I
Well,
am gonna. I was also stuck between Benedict Cumberbatch as well. But yeah, I'll go with Idris Elba. But I think
No, you guys have lost.
see if it's a particular name that's in my head now.
So
and
you had
he
2
won it.
remaining.
Give us
I'm
a couple
gonna
of
be
clues, though.
The
I'm gonna be
brother
angry.
of Ben Affleck. You mentioned
Oh,
Ben
okay.
Affleck earlier. Casey
Uh,
Affleck won it for Manchester by the Sea.
So you
Shit.
could give us a clue there by saying related to this podcast.
Except
And
it
the other
doesn't.
one,
But
I don't think I haven't seen the other one. 2020, it was Anthony Hopkins and The Father.
oh
So
no!
Anthony Hopkins was the person.
I
that
watched
won
that
Best
last night.
Actor. You pleb. Yeah, he won Best Actor for that.
I actually watched that last.
did you really?
Yeah.
Is it good? Do you recommend I watch it?
No.
No,
Okay.
there you go. That's what I mean. It was 2020, so it was a COVID year, so nobody gave a shit about the award.
Exactly. But I watched
And
it
yeah,
last night because I got recommended.
Casey
it, but I didn't
Affleck
like
won it for Manchester by the Sea. To go back again, Cillian Murphy, Oppenheimer, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Will Smith with King Richard. That was the year he slapped Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins won it in 2020. 2019 was Joaquin Phoenix and Joker.
Mhm.
Rami Malek with Bohemian Rhapsody. Gary Oldman for The Dark
He's the
Tower.
best one on that list, regardless of the younger actors. Rami Malek is untouchable.
Agreed. Casey Affleck for Manchester by the Sea. Leonardo DiCaprio for The Revenant, which is an awful film. I hated that film.
It is pish.
Yeah, and then a really good film, Eddie Redmayne and The Fury of Everything.
I'm just going to say it's an absolute.
So that's
hot take.
two. So 2 of these top 10s before 10s that you've competed in, Reece, you haven't completed.
Yet.
I miss Anthony Hopkins because I don't watch many films. Catherine.
Yeah, to be fair, when you look at Anthony Hopkins' films, like his best ones were a long, long time ago.
Is he Silence of the Lambs? Is that Anthony Hopkins?
That is Anthony Hopkins, yeah.
Yeah.
So the
See what I
film,
mean?
The
His last 3
Father,
films were
Anthony suffers from dementia and is cared for by his daughter Anne,
Yeah.
and then decides to move to Paris. But still, with this change, it doesn't sound like a great film.
It's rubbish.
But it got rated 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. So, but then I watched Moonlight.
Those were the junkie side of Rotten Tomatoes making that vote. It's crap.
Yeah, I watched Moonlight, and I have to say the film was decent, but I didn't quite get the hype that it won. But it was a good film, but it wasn't quite what I anticipated. But it was right.
I didn't like it. When I look at the actors, I'm going to say this as well as a hot take, but I don't really care. Rami Malek for me is the best Bond villain since Scaramanga as well.
I haven't seen that one either, the newest one. Was it No Time to Die or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Anyway,
No Time to Die. 3 years ago, funnily enough.
Because Reece couldn't achieve his goal and complete the movie buff quiz that I set him out to do so. We've hit an hour and 13 minutes.
I was expecting you to come up with a different top. Like, even though it was movie buff, I was expecting you to come up with a different top 10. I didn't expect you to come up with Best Actor at the Academy Awards. Because that's just based on, like, some of them are absolute garbage.
I had to do your United quiz at Christmas. So you can deal with my top 10. That was a shit hard quiz. So you can take that.
What did you expect me to give you, like, the easiest
Exactly.
magnetic question of all time?
What did you expect me to do? Ask for like the top 10 best grossing films of all time? You just have to mention the last 8 Marvel films that have come out.
So much more cost effective.
You could do Endgame, Infinity War, Titanic. That's free bosh.
Oh, fuck Titanic.
Guys, let's plug our socials and we can all go to bed. Naomi, where can we find you? What are you up to? And well done today.
Thank you so much for having me on my debut on the channel. So that's been really cool. I'm on Instagram, Naomi_TEG. I'm also on X, HRH_Naomi. And I'm just doing a lot with my nonprofit, Mentally United, at the moment. Just got back from the Forbes conference and the Women in Sports Summit at the sports conference.
That looked awesome. I did see your Twitter stuff on that. That really
cool.
Cool.
Yeah. It's been just really cool to connect with other sports creators in the country and from the UK and, you know, wherever.
So was it you? It's the first time hearing that. Sorry, was it you do? Sorry, in that sense.
Like for my nonprofit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So our nonprofit, Mentally United, it's a mental wellness and connecting communities organizations. Okay. We do podcasts. we do like different mental health resources, and we run community campaigns. We have one coming out soon, which is around United and soccer. So I'll share that when it's there. But I do content for Mentally United. So yeah.
Amazing. Awesome.
That's fantastic.
Thank you. And Seb, where can we find you? What are you up to? And yeah, tell us a bit about what you're up to and what you do outside of this.
Well, currently I am the video content manager for Betfred. Previously been at Reach, which for people in the UK will know the Daily Mirror, Daily Express, Daily Star, Manchester News, Liverpool Echo. I was the head of sport video for them for just over 12 months. And then I decided to move into boxing. I got a job working in boxing, traveling the world, interviewing fighters, producing podcasts, doing this sort of stuff, but in the background. I was the goods in the back rather than the face of it. And then somebody once asked me to front a podcast with boxing journalist Dan Raphael. So I did that for a while. And I decided to go back to Betfred. I just enjoy whoring myself around to different arenas.
That's one way to put it. That's ace.
Why fucking not? Amazing. And really good work tonight, mate. Really good. Really happy with it.
I have terrible football opinions and even worse betting patterns. So
maybe so. We won't ask you for any hot tips on anything. Then is that what you're saying?
No. I had a bit of a joke recently. Somebody said to me, "Why is it that every tweet you post about betting is always losing by one leg?" And I said, "Right, I'm going to go on Twitter and I'm going to put #SebsTips and I'm going to win every single bet." And the first two of them came in, and I was absolutely laughing my bollocks off. The fact that they all went in. And then the third bet that I posted
you can do the same.
Yeah. The third bet I posted didn't come in, and it didn't come in because Erling Haaland didn't have a goal or an assist against Fulham. And I was like, something that is as guaranteed as breathing. It was Erling Haaland scoring or assisting against Fulham, and he didn't. So Seb's tips came to a very abrupt end.
Amazing. And Reese, what are you up to? Where can we find you? And what's coming up on your channel in the next 7 days or so?
Well, I'm definitely not betting on that. My channel obviously below the weekly steel chair. So if you don't know, I do besides football content, I do wrestling content. So I cover more than you can beats the eye. A lot. More or less, I've got a lot of review shit coming out. I've got articles coming out. I've got a middle of writing a blog and a website at the same time. So that's taking up a fair bit of my personal attention. It's why I'm dipping for a little bit from the YouTube scene. So nobody wants to know that, but these are all hearing it now. First time. I'll be dipping shortly from the YouTube scene, but that's purely just to make sure everyone's up and running. I'll still be doing stuff. I'm not going to just dip from the face of the earth, but I'll be stream wise. It'll be, I'm not sure how many it's going to be a week, put it that way, but timing wise it's going to be a change, but that's just until everyone's up and running. But hey, there you go, spoiler. And I'm looking to bring a few people on. I'm looking to do a few interviews potentially soon, just see how that goes. Just have a bit of enjoyment, and once everyone's up and running, you'll really see change. But yeah, so there you go. Spoiler. I'm dipping for a bit. I'm just not telling you when, because that's my decision, not anyone else's.
Awesome. Right, guys, thank you so much for coming on tonight. It's been a really good show. We'll crack on here. And yeah, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. And we will see you very soon on the Weekly Armchair.